Every crime is a wound on the world. We're here to dissect it, layer by layer, to find the truth buried within. This is Anatomy of Crime. Imagine standing in the lobby of 11 Howard, a boutique hotel in the Soho district of New York City. The air smells of expensive candles and polished concrete. It is the spring of 2017. Leaning against the concierge desk is a young woman wearing Celine glasses and Supreme athleisure wear. She is counting out crisp $100 bills, tipping the staff for tasks they have not yet performed. She does not look like a criminal. She looks like a fixture of the downtown scene, a dusty blonde European heiress waiting for a wire transfer that is perpetually just one banking day away. To the concierge, to the city's social climbers, and to some of the largest financial institutions in Manhattan, she is Anna Delvey, a trust fund baby worth 60 million euros. But in reality, the person standing there is a ghost. Her clothes are charged to a credit card she does not own. The money she is tipping comes from a check kite she is currently executing, and her name is not Anna Delvey. Today, we dissect the anatomy of an imposter. We are not just looking at a case of theft or fraud, but at a complex sociological performance that exposed the vulnerabilities of the American financial system and the desperate, blinding hunger for status that defines New York City society. We will examine how a girl from a working-class town in Russia, with no college degree and no assets, managed to convince hedge funds and banks to entertain a loan of $22 million. We will look at the mechanics of the con, the psychology of the confidence game, and the specific forensic details that eventually brought the entire house of cards crashing down. This is an inquiry into the construction of a persona so convincing that even when the evidence pointed to fraud, the victims chose to believe the lie. To understand the anatomy of Anna Delvey, we must first strip away the mythology she created and examine the raw materials of her origin. She was born Anna Sorokin in January 1991 in Domodedovo, a satellite town southeast of Moscow. This was not the world of old European money she would later claim as her birthright. Her father was a truck driver. Her mother owned a small convenience store. The family emigrated to Germany in 2007 when Anna was 16, settling in Eschweiler, a quiet industrial town near the Belgian border. This geographical shift is critical. It placed her in a liminal space, neither fully Russian nor fully German, fostering an outsider status that she would later weaponize. By the time she graduated from high school, the persona was already incubating. She was described by classmates as distinct, obsessed with high fashion, and desperate to leave the provincial life of Eschweiler behind. She briefly attended art school in London but dropped out, eventually landing an internship at Purple magazine in Paris. It was in Paris, surrounded by the avant-garde aesthetic of the fashion elite, that Anna Sorokin began to dissolve. In her place, Anna Delvey emerged. The surname Delvey was an invention, a meaningless signifier that sounded vaguely aristocratic, perhaps French, perhaps German. She realized early on that in the world of high fashion and art, ambiguity is not a weakness. It is a currency. If people cannot place your accent or your lineage, they project their own assumptions onto you. In 2013, Anna arrived in New York City for Fashion Week and decided not to leave. This marks the beginning of the operational phase of her fraud. The anatomy of her infiltration into New York society relied on a specific psychological lever known as social proof. She did not immediately ask for money. Instead, she established presence. She attended openings, galas, and dinners, often documenting them on Instagram. She understood that in the digital age, being seen at the right place is functionally equivalent to belonging there. She dressed the part, wearing pieces from Alaïa and Balenciaga, understanding that clothing is the primary uniform of legitimacy in these circles. Her initial strategy was what we might call the soft grift. It relied on the unspoken etiquette of the wealthy. When dining with new wealthy acquaintances, Anna would often forget her credit card or claim her bank had flagged a transaction. In the company she kept, bringing up money was considered gauche. Friends would cover the bill, assuming the wealthy German heiress would pay them back. Sometimes she did, using cash withdrawn from fraudulent checks, reinforcing the idea that she was good for the money. But often she simply forgot, and her victims, paralyzed by social politeness, refused to press the issue. This is a crucial anatomical feature of high society fraud. The victim's reluctance to appear petty or poor protects the predator. But Anna's ambitions were not limited to free dinners and designer clothes. She harbored a grand vision, the Anna Delvey Foundation, or ADF. This was to be a private arts club, a Soho house for the ultralight, housing a rotating art collection, restaurants, and a juice bar. To achieve this, she set her sights on a specific location, 281 Park Avenue South, a 6-story Renaissance Revival landmark in Manhattan. The lease and renovation would require tens of millions of dollars. This is where the case pivots from social climbing to complex financial crimes. To secure the capital for ADF, Anna needed to interface with the institutional banking world. She could not charm an algorithm or a risk assessment officer with a vague accent. She needed documents. This phase of the crime highlights the anatomy of modern document forgery. Anna used simple tools, primarily Microsoft Word and a laptop. To fabricate a financial history, she created fake bank statements from purely fictional Swiss banks, detailing a trust fund of 60 million euros. She invented a portfolio of assets that did not exist. The most audacious element of this phase was the invention of Peter Hennecke. When banks asked to speak with her wealth manager to verify her assets, she provided an email address for Peter Hennecke. Peter, however, was Anna. She purchased a burner phone and set up a virtual email account, conducting correspondence with senior bankers at major institutions like City National Bank and Fortress Investment Group, posing as her own financial advisor. In her emails as Peter, she adopted a tone of weary annoyance, the tone of a man managing a difficult client's vast fortune. It was a brilliant stroke of psychological manipulation. By having Peter act difficult, she made the bankers work harder to close the deal, shifting the dynamic so that they were chasing her business. In late 2016, she applied for a $22 million loan from City National Bank. The bank requested financial statements. Anna provided the forged documents from her Swiss accounts. While City National Bank eventually declined the large loan due to a lack of cash flow transparency, one banker remained intrigued and introduced her to Fortress Investment Group. Fortress agreed to consider the application but required a $100,000 due diligence fee to audit her assets. This is a critical juncture. Anna did not have $100,000. She managed to convince City National Bank to extend her a temporary overdraft of $100,000 based on the promise of the incoming wire transfer from her fictitious European trust. She then took that money and wired it to Fortress. This specific maneuver is significant because it represents the moment the fraud became circular. She was borrowing real money from one institution to pay another institution to investigate fake money. Fortress began their due diligence. They scheduled a trip to Switzerland to meet the elusive Peter Hennecke and see the assets. Realizing the game was up, Anna, acting as Peter, made excuses. Then she withdrew the loan application halfway through the process. Fortress returned the unused portion of the due diligence fee, roughly $55,000, to Anna. In her mind, this was now her money. She had successfully washed the loan into liquid cash. While the banking fraud was unfolding, Anna was living at the 11 Howard Hotel. She had checked in for a long-term stay, securing a room without a credit card on file, a massive failure of hotel protocol facilitated by her friendship with the hotel's young concierge, Nefertari Davis. Anna spent months there, racking up a bill of roughly $30,000. She dined at the hotel restaurant Le Cuckoo, charging everything to the room. When the hotel management finally demanded a valid credit card, Anna used the money returned from Fortress to pay the bill. This pattern of robbing Peter to pay Paul is classic Ponzi mechanics, applied to a lifestyle rather than an investment fund. The narrative arc of the Anna Delvey case reaches its climax in May 2017 with the infamous trip to Marrakech, Morocco. Anna invited her friend Rachel Deloach Williams, a photo editor at Vanity Fair, and a videographer to document the creation of the Anna Delvey Foundation. They stayed at La Mamounia, one of the most expensive hotels in the world, in a private riad costing $7,000 a night. The anatomy of the Morocco incident is a study in coercive control. Anna had promised to pay for everything. However, the hotel staff, unable to charge Anna's cards, became aggressive. They appeared at the dinner table, demanding payment. The facade cracked. Anna, feigning shock and frustration with her bank, pressured Rachel to put down her credit card, promising it was just a temporary hold. Under immense stress and fearing arrest in a foreign country, Rachel handed over her corporate Amex and her personal card. By the end of the trip, Anna had charged $62,000 to Rachel Williams's cards, more than Rachel's annual salary. This betrayal marked the beginning of the end. Upon returning to New York, Anna did not pay Rachel back. She offered a stream of excuses. The wire is coming, the bank is slow, the holidays are interfering. Rachel, financially ruined and emotionally devastated, eventually went to the police. Simultaneously, Anna was evicted from 11 Howard and bounced between other hotels, the Beekman and the W Hotel, attempting the same check-in fraud. But her reputation was preceding her. The hotels were now communicating. By the summer of 2017, Anna was homeless, relying on the couches of acquaintances she had not yet burned. She was eventually arrested in October 2017 outside a rehab facility in Malibu, California. The arrest was orchestrated by a sting operation involving Rachel Williams, who had maintained contact with Anna specifically to help the police locate her. This aspect of the case adds a layer of personal vengeance that complicates the narrative. The victim became the hunter. The legal anatomy of the case, culminating in the 2019 trial, offers a fascinating look at how the justice system grapples with identity fraud. Anna was charged with multiple counts of grand larceny and theft of services. Her defense attorney, Todd Spodek, adopted a strategy that has come to be known as the Sinatra defense. He argued that Anna was merely trying to make it in New York, that she was following the ethos of "if I can make it there, I can make it anywhere." He portrayed her behavior not as criminal intent, but as an ambitious attempt to fake it until she made it. He argued that she always intended to pay everyone back once the Anna Delvey Foundation was funded. This defense strategy relies on the blurring of lines between capitalism and crime. Spodek argued that in the world of high finance, puffery and exaggeration are standard operating procedures. He suggested that the banks were not victims but active participants who were eager to lend to Anna because they smelled profit. He highlighted the fact that the banks failed their own due diligence, seduced by the prospect of the fees they would earn from her project. One of the most surreal aspects of the trial was the focus on Anna's appearance. She hired a stylist to dress her for court. There were days she refused to enter the courtroom because her outfit was not right. This was not merely vanity, it was a continuation of the con. Anna understood that a defendant who looks like a wealthy heiress is harder to convict than one who looks like a prisoner. She was maintaining the brand of Anna Delvey even while facing 15 years in prison. The jury, however, dissected the evidence with more precision than the defense hoped. They looked at the falsified wire transfer confirmations. They looked at the bad checks deposited to withdraw cash immediately, a technique known as check kiting. They saw the deliberate fabrication of Peter Hennecke. These were not the actions of a dreamer. These were the calculated mechanics of a fraudster. In April 2019, Anna Sorokin was convicted on 8 charges, including grand larceny in the second degree, attempted grand larceny, and theft of services. Interestingly, she was acquitted of the charge related to Rachel Williams and the Morocco trip. The jury determined that because Rachel had voluntarily handed over her credit card, it constituted a civil dispute rather than a criminal theft, despite the deception involved. This distinction is crucial in the anatomy of financial crime. The difference between theft and a bad debt often lies in the victim's consent, however coerced that consent may be. She was sentenced to 4 to 12 years in state prison. But the story did not end with her incarceration. In a twist that speaks to the modern media landscape, Anna Sorokin became a cultural phenomenon from behind bars. She wrote blog posts, gave interviews, and eventually sold the rights to her life story to Netflix for $320,000. In a final ironic loop, she used that money to pay restitution to the banks she had defrauded. The system that she had exploited ultimately paid her enough to settle her debts, validating her distorted logic that she always intended to pay. As we conclude this dissection, we must analyze the anatomy of the imposter herself. What makes Anna Delvey unique is not the complexity of her schemes. Check kiting and document forgery are old crimes, but the canvas on which she painted them. She exposed the reality that New York society is often a hall of mirrors where value is determined not by assets, but by proximity to assets. She understood that if you stand next to the right people, wear the right clothes, and speak with enough entitlement, the world will conspire to believe you. The institutions that failed to stop her, the banks, the hotels, the law firms, failed because they are built on a presumption of wealth. They are designed to service the rich, not to interrogate them. Anna hacked this system by exploiting its greed. The bankers wanted the fees from her loan. The hotels wanted the prestige of her patronage. Her friends wanted the proximity to her glamour. Everyone involved projected their own desires onto the blank screen of Anna Delvey. From a psychological standpoint, Anna displays traits of the dark triad: narcissism, Machiavellianism, and a lack of empathy. Her ability to compartmentalize, to sleep soundly in a hotel room she knew she couldn't pay for, speaks to a profound disconnection from social norms. Yet, framing her simply as a sociopath misses the broader sociological point. Anna Delvey is a mirror reflecting the zeitgeist of the late 2010s, an era defined by the curated self, where the image of success is more valuable than success itself. The Anna Delvey case is a modern tragedy of identity. It demonstrates that in a world obsessed with surfaces, the person who polishes the surface the brightest wins, at least for a while. She built a castle out of air, and for a few years people lived in it. Her legacy is a lesson in skepticism. a reminder that in the anatomy of a con, the most vital organ is always the victim's willingness to believe. Ultimately, Anna Sorokin did not just steal money, she stole the trust that allows society to function, proving that with enough confidence, you can walk through doors that were never actually open. This has been Anatomy of Crime, where the truth is never simple, but always worth seeking.